can be found in almost all revealed religions. Blood atonement for sin. With the Aztecs, it was to get the sun to rise, and the blood of their children was to get the rain to fall, not to take away sin. This concept is found in the Bible and Quran. That is, at the time of Adam and Eve, the two brothers, Cain and Abel, were asked to make offerings to the Creator. Cain leaves all the fruits from his garden because he can't part with the good crops, and Abel, on the other hand, goes to the mountain and offers God a lamb, best of his flock, and pleases God, which is accepted by God, not the bloodless toil and effort of Cain. Again, why the accepting of Abel's bloody sacrifice and not the bloodless vegetables of Cain that Cain toiled over to grow, if Christianity is false? Then again, at the time of Abraham, very implicitly explained that Abraham was commanded to sacrifice his child, and he ventures to keep the promise and sets off with a knife and his son Ishmael and attempts to cut his child. Then God sends the archangel and sends them a ram instead of, and says, "Here, sacrifice this ram instead, and the child is spared Allah." True, except in the Torah, it's Isaac and not Ishmael. But what is, quote, blood atonement, unquote? Blood atonement for what? Atonement for what, if Christianity is false? Again, the Passover idea. With the sacrifice of the animals, blood being displayed, so the angel of death passes their dwelling. You know all these stories. And the blood had to be from a spotless lamb, right? Why a spotless lamb? Why have to put the blood of any kind of animal above the door to keep the firstborn of Israel from dying? What was so special about the blood of a lamb to keep death from taking the firstborn of Israel if it wasn't a foreshadowing of Christianity? The lambs has always been a lamb or cattle to be sacrificed for the sake of Allah. Because you'll find at the time of Moses, in the Quran, Allah he demands the Jews to cut a cow, but they vehemently refuse and are very reluctant. The reason for Allah demanding the cow to be sacrificed, so that the Jews would demonstrate to Allah that the cow was not their Lord, as many Jews had believed prior to Moses. But why a spotless lamb? And why slaughter anything for atonement if Christianity is false? Again, atonement for what? As you know, when Moses went to the mountain summoned by Allah, as he returned, he was angered because he found that the Jews went back to making idol of the calf and started worshipping the calf again. Right? But what's this have to do with the question of blood atonement? That is the reason that these sacrifices are important. What do you mean? To prove your love and loyalty to a single Allah, and you don't rely on worship of physical objects or idols, etc. Right, you don't do that. But again, what is blood atonement for? Why were sacrifices taking place in the, quote, Holy of Holies? Or, as I later discovered, the most holy place, where the priests had to have ropes tied about their bodies so they could be dragged from the Holy of Holies, most holy place, if they did something wrong with the Ark of the Covenant. I think that's how it went. It was the place that blood atonement was taking place in, it seems. And again, if Christianity is false, blood atonement for what? If we know the history of humanity, a lot of these issues start to make sense to us. If you're not an atheist, I'm sure. That is why I was explaining that I became a Muslim. Because of the sacrifices? What? Because everything is explained logically and reasonably, making real sense in accordance to our human nature. If Christianity is false, I'd still like to know why there is blood atonement in the Old Testament. why there is blood of a spotless lamb on your frames to keep the firstborn of Israel from dying during the Passover, and why an image of a snake is successfully used as snake bite cure for all who looked up and saw it on a stick held up by Moses. Please explain those if Christianity is false. Unlike blind faith, which many Christians ask you to follow. Oh, blind faith? No, there's no blind faith in Islam? Are you sure? Islam asked us to research. Good. That's what I'm doing here. Question and seek knowledge. That's what I'm doing for sure here. I leave you with the beautiful words of Prophet Muhammad SAW. Quote, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave, unquote. If seeking knowledge for 1 hour is better than 7 years of prayer, man, that's a huge, gigantic understatement. He is definitely not joking. Oh, by the way, you said Abel left, quote, old fruits. Can you show me in the, quote, the guidance and light, quote, that is the Torah's book of Genesis, where there was something wrong with the fruit? I was led to believe that the only problem with Cain's sacrifice was because it was bloodless, that his toil and effort was bloodless. Not like Abel's sacrifice of lamb blood. Abel was a shepherd, not a farmer like Cain. Brother, if I was able to quote, if I was to only quote you the biblical version of the events, you will never be able to get the clear picture of these past historical events. But shouldn't we? After all, the Quran says the Torah is not only like the Quran, but is, quote, both guidance and light, unquote. Plus, quote, confirmed and reminded by the Quran. Meaning it seems that there is no problem with this passage in Genesis, meaning that Genesis is a part of the Torah. Combining Quran, the Prophet Muhammad's explanation and the understanding of scholars and people of great learning, I put these events in order for you to get a clear picture. Even though there is no mention of what condition the fruit was in the Torah, except for the fact that such a bloodless substance was rejected by God for the bloody sacrifices of Abel, it is stated by his weakness, Cain, as you call him. Just going by how the Torah calls him, I noticed that we both spelled the brother's names wrong. Now, just going by the way, it's spelled by the weakness of Cain, as you call him, was driven to the greedy and did not offer the best of his produce to his Creator. Where does it say it wasn't the best of his produce to the Creator in the Torah? Which again, according to the Quran, is equal in guidance to the Quran. It wasn't just about spilling of blood of the lamb. Right, it wasn't, but if Christianity is false, why should the blood be of a spotless lamb for not only atonement for sin, but to keep the firstborn of Israel from dying during the Passover? The human nature was being demonstrated. That we as ancestors may be selfish, self-centered, greedy, and unappreciative like Cain, or be self-sacrificial, considerate, and appreciative like Abel. Well, it would have to be that way if God wasn't trying to make bloody sacrifices a foreshadowing of Christianity, true? This is the whole idea of man. If man coming to this universe, this is the whole idea. If man coming to this universe and being tested, are you sure? You may watch a video on original sin and is God bad. You may find these videos by typing Ozzy Jenkins. Peace for now. I'll check them out, but will they let me know why the blood of a spotless lamb is used to keep the firstborn of Israel from dying, or for why the need for blood atonement if Christianity is false, or why an image of a snake was used for effective snake bite cure? Will they? Peace.